Hello, my name is Greg Dixon. This is my Introduction to Fiction class. We're doing a response to fiction, or response to literature, or how, I think I call it something really creative in the work in the request. Our first presentation, or one-act play, will be Nick Van Winkle, which is a reaction to Rip Van Winkle, and I've been asked to read the prologue. The exclusive and courageous group, the Tetrarchs, from Mr. Dixon's short fiction class, have decided to introduce Rip Van Winkle, written by Washington Irving, in the form of a play titled Nick Van Winkle, a play written by Sidney Harvey. Nick Van Winkle is a modern spin on an old classic. As a group, they felt the message would be best told by putting it in the modern setting. While the ideas and themes of the original story remain, the names of the characters, settings, and dialogue have been changed. The play will follow a happy-go-lucky young man who encounters a magical forest, little people, raves, and roofies. Oh, and also time travel. Performing the play, listed by importance, will be Drake Dreasley, Olivia Hutchinson, Sarah Jones, Sidney Harvey, and narrated by
Peyton.
Thanks, Sydney.
All right, thank you very much. And now the play.
Some time long ago, before most people care to remember, or choose to remember, there lived a boy named Nick Van Winkle. Nick was a simple boy who lived at the foot of New York in the Catskill Mountains. Nick is of German descent and enjoys solitary activities, reading, sleeping, and getting lost in the woods. Although Nick is a solitary wilderness explorer, he is loved by the people of the town and especially by his many classmates at the local village college. Even though Nick seems to have many grand abilities, he lacks in his performance during school and at home. He was not a fan of manual labor or trivial assignments, although that would have been fine if he didn't have an evil, annoying, nagging mother that caused him stress throughout his whole day.
What do you think you're doing?
Nothing, I'm just waiting for the narrator to finish my prologue.
Well, can you hurry it up? I have a lot of stuff for you to do. We don't have time for you to stand there. Could you be more lazy? Oh, great, my son is hearing voices. I just add that to the things I hate about him.
It's not that Nick is lazy, it's just that Nick enjoys not to do work that benefits himself, or by association his mother. Instead of him helping his own mother in the house, he would help the other mothers of the neighborhood. And instead of getting his own homework done, he would do the homework of others. Nick Van Winkle always puts others first. Hello there, Nick.
Hello, Olivia Venom.
Hey, I didn't understand the assignment Nick Van Winkle gave. Can you just do it for me?
Sure, yeah, that would be great. I would love to do your assignment.
Nick's only escape from his horrible mother was his short fiction class he was taking at the village college. It was taught by the village schoolmaster Dixon Van Brummel, who was very brilliant but sometimes had trouble getting to his point.
Okay, class, let's get started. Sit down if you'd like, I guess. Okay, today we're going to discuss Asian culture, and I really want to put an emphasis on we because I really don't want to be the only one talking here. I want everyone to feel free to talk whenever you want. In fact, if I'm talking too much now, feel free to interrupt me. What are we? Asian culture, yeah. Am I talking too much? Do you want to interrupt? Wah, 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 wah,
As Dixon Van Brummel begins his rant, Nick grew tired. His thoughts were lost in the dependencies of other students had him want him to finish his other projects.
Did you finish my project yet?
He was also exhausted at the thought of his mother asking him to fix things and to do better in school, and just her blatant meanness and unsupportiveness.
My son's a loser! 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 Loser!
Due to Nick Van Winkle's immense stress and sadness, he fell asleep in class to escape his pain. When Nick Van Winkle woke up, he found himself on a grassy knoll overlooking the rich forests and the Hudson River in the distance. He also found his trusty and mute, non-existent friend, Draco, waiting for him. Surprised nice and happy to see him, Nick gave him a high five.
Yay.
Nick Van Winkle begins to be confused as how he got there and ponders this out loud in the forest.
Read your line.
Okay.
How did you get here?
How did I get here?
After realizing how late it was, Nick Van Winkle knew he needed to get home because his mother would worry. The longer Sarah Van Winkle worried, the longer Nick Van Winkle would have to hear about it. So Nick headed back.
Come on, Draco, I need you to get home or I will be in a lot of trouble.
Nick!
Nick suddenly stops after he hears his name whispered and turns around intrigued.
Did you hear that, Draco?
Nick!
The voice grew bigger.
Now I know I heard that.
Nick!
At least I think I did.
Nick Van Winkle!
Who's there?
The only answer Nick is given is another call to him.
Nick Van Winkle!
Well, I'm gonna go see what that is. Are you coming, Draco?
As Nick neared the direction that was calling him, he noticed that his name was being called by a tall, beautiful woman who was obviously intelligent and talented in many ways, mysterious, and looked like a Democrat. So he also noticed she was holding a giant keg of beer. Nick Van Winkle, being the generous man he is, offered to help the woman carry her beer keg.
Can I help you with that?
Sure! I'm trying to carry it up this huge mountain. I was yelling at you for such a long time, I didn't think you could hear me.
Nick Van Winkle took the keg and assisted the woman up the hill, and he did not bother to ask how this creepy, mysterious woman knew his name, nor what she was doing alone in the forest in the middle of the night. But why would he? As Nick got higher up the mountain, he began to hear loud techno music. The beat was decent, but he refrained from dancing in order to look cool. The mysterious woman and Nick took the keg and began to walk through hanging trees. The area in the forest resembled like a dark rave-like atmosphere.
Where are we? And what are all those dwarves doing in the forest listening to Sandstorm?
Don't worry about it. Just join and have fun.
Okay.
As Nick watched and saw all of the fun people were having from the punch, he decided to drink some too. Nick took a sip of punch and loved it.
Woo!
Nick Van Winkle kept drinking the punch because he loved the taste so much, and it got to a point where he couldn't stop himself. The liquor in the punch had a heavy effect on Nick Van Winkle, and he drifted into a deep, deep sleep.
Oh crap.
Oh crap.
Nick Van Winkle wakes up in his classroom where he had fallen asleep at what seemed only hours ago. Only this time, instead of Dixon Van Brummel teaching the class, it was Olivia Venom. And she was talking about something very strange and familiar.
Okay, class, today we are going to learn about an urban legend. This one specifically has to do with our town. It is the story of Hendrik Hudson and her strange ravings, being that roaming the Catskills, every 20 years they come back to the mountains to keep the guardian eye on the river. And every 20 years, if you listen carefully enough, you can hear the blasting beats and laughter from the mountains.
Nick was shocked by the story and noticed that all the children in the class were staring at him and that he didn't recognize any of them. Only Olivia Venom, who immediately recognized him after he awoke, and she finished her story.
Nick Van Winkle, is that you? We thought you had died. Nobody has seen you in 20 years. And why do you have that long beard?
What are you talking about? Young Nick, no. Is that young Nick Van Winkle, once old Nick Van Winkle now? Does nobody know poor Rip Van Winkle?
Confused and scared, Nick begins to head home. Along the way, he runs into a man who looks like Draco the Wolf. Nick waves at the man. The man barks and growls at Nick Van Winkle and attempts to bite him. Nick keeps walking and finally approaches what used to be his house instead of the building he used to live in. Nick is faced by a patch of land in the middle of a lot with a headstone which read, "Here lies Sarah Van Winkle, whose son was a loser."
Loser!
Nick Van Winkle now realizes that he had been asleep under a spell for 20 years and had missed so much. While he mourned for the loss of his young adulthood, he couldn't help but be naturally happy. But be the naturally happy man that he always was, especially pleased to be free from the tyranny of Sarah Van Winkle.
All right, the ends.
The
Come out, entire cast, take a bow.
Thank you. Let's bow, full bow.
All right.